Hi scholars, my name is Miss Mailer and we are going to read a story together today. Okay scholars, so today we are going to start an exciting new unit. We are going to be reading books and nursery rhymes to help us practice how to read. Now, when we are remembering how to read or when we are learning how to read, there are a few things that we need to remember while we're reading. Let's look at our first thing we need to remember. When we are reading, scholars, we need to make sure that we touch each word so we know where we are in the story. We need to touch each word so we know where we are in the story. Okay, now that we remember that we need to touch each word, we also need to remember that when we're reading, we start on the left side and we read from left to right. Once we're done with one of our lines, we stop there and we move down to the next line because we also read from top to bottom. So we read from left to right and top to bottom. Okay, now that we remember where we point our finger and how we read words on a page, we're going to go ahead and get started with our reading lesson. Scholars, today we are reading a book, and the title is Brown Bear, What Do You See? In this story, it's written by and illustrated by Eric Carle. So scholars, touch your nose if you've read this story before. Wow, so many of us have read this story before. Okay, scholars, let's look at the title of our story. Where should I point when I read? Should I point above the word? No. Should I point on top of the word? No. I wouldn't be able to see what I was reading. Should I point under the word? Yes, I should. I remember I point under the words while I read. Okay, I'm going to try reading this title while pointing under each word I read. Brown bear, what do you see? Okay, scholars. Today, while we read, your job is to watch my finger while I read. I'm going to need your help to make sure that I'm reading the right way. And also, you're going to need to pay really close attention because I'm going to try and trick you. All right, scholars, get ready because we're going to start reading. Here we go. Brown bear, what do you see? By Eric Carle. Okay, scholars, since this is such a big book, I need to point my camera down so you can see all the words that I'm reading. All right, scholars, I'm going to point my camera down so that you can see the whole page of the story. Okay, you can't really see my face that well, but the most important thing is that you can see the whole story. Okay, scholars, we're going to start reading our story. Brown bear, what do you see? I see a red bird looking at me. Red bird, what do you see? Uh-oh, scholars. Where do I start reading on this page? I forgot. When you remember where I start reading, raise your hand and your teacher will ask you to share. Teachers, now is a good time to pause the video. Scholars, that's right. I need to point under the first word on the page. I also know that I'm reading from left to right and from top to bottom. Let's try that out. I see a yellow duck looking at me. Okay, scholars. So on this page, I see some words down here, and I also see a picture of a duck on the page. So I'm trying to figure out where I should start reading. I need to think about how people read. Let's see, I know that good readers read from the top of the page to the bottom. There are a lot of words at the top of this page right here. So I'm going to try reading, starting with the last word. Duck, yellow. Wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. Now I'm going to try reading, starting with the first word. Yellow duck. That makes more sense. I remember good readers start with the first word on the top of the page. Let's read. Yellow duck. Yellow duck. What do you see? I see a blue horse looking at me. Blue horse. Blue horse. What do you see? I see a green frog looking at me. Green frog. Green frog. What do you see? I see a purple cat looking at me. Purple cat. Purple cat. What do you see? I see a white dog looking at me. Uh-oh, scholars. On this page, I only see words. Uh-oh, I forgot where I need to start reading. Wait, I know I need to read from the left to the right. And I think I read from the bottom to the top. Let's try that. What do you see? White dog, white dog. Wait, that didn't sound right. Maybe I should try reading from the top to the bottom. White dog, what do you see? That sounded better. It matched the pattern of the words in the story. That's right. Good readers start with the first word at the top of the page, and they read from the top to the bottom. Okay, scholars, let's read this together. White dog, what do you see? I see a black sheep looking at me. Black sheep, what do you see? I see a goldfish looking at me. Uh-oh, I didn't turn one page at a time. Silly Miss Mailer. Goldfish, what do you see? I see a teacher looking at me. Teacher, what do you see? I see children looking at me. Okay, scholars. Where do I start reading on this page? If you remember, raise your hand and your teacher will ask you to share. Teachers, now is a good time to pause the video. Scholars, you're right. I need to start with the first word on the top of the page. And I also need to read from left to right and top to bottom. Let's read. Children, children, what do you see? We see a brown bear, a red bird, a yellow duck, a blue horse, a green frog, a purple cat, a white dog, a black sheep, a goldfish, and a teacher looking at us. That's what we see. Wow, scholars, we just worked so hard being good readers and remembering where we need to read on each page. Scholars, my last question for you is this. As good readers, where do we start reading on every page? When you know the answer, raise your hand and your teacher will ask you to share. Teachers, now is a good time to pause the video. Scholars, you are so right. You start by reading by putting your finger under the first word on the top of the page, and you read from left to right and from top to bottom. Scholars, you were awesome readers today. Thank you so much for reading this story with me, and I can't wait to read another story with you next time. Bye, scholars.